Listen, I know what you're thinking. This idiot is doing another stupid review on a World War II game. First off, that's a little mean, and second off, Call of Duty 3 ain't that bad. And at the end of the day, we all know what grandstanding COD game came after this one, so don't worry, we'll eventually get to Modern Warfare in a future review, so just sit tight. Anyways, this is Call of Duty 3, developed by Treyarch, released back in the Paleolithic era of 2006 for pretty much every console of its time, with ports to the OG Xbox and PS2, as well as this was a launch title for both the PlayStation 3 and the Nintendo Wii, which I will get into later. We are playing on the Xbox 360 version, and this is so far the only mainline COD game to not get a PC release. Which, to be honest, in hindsight, PC players were more than happy with COD 2 and waiting for the next game by Infinity Ward. As all the early COD titles were, this game is set in the wonderful, cheerful time of World War II, in the later stages of the Western European theater to be exact. Throughout the campaign, you'll play as the Americans, British, Canadian, and even as the Polish, which is a country you don't usually see in World War II games, even today. You'll not be playing as the Soviets like the entry before, which is a real shame because I like to use the PPSH every chance I get. But they at least give you the Chicago typewriter, so there's that. If you're an OG COD player, you should already know what to expect from this game. That is to say, you should expect non-stop action from start to finish with plenty of bad guys to shoot and explosions happening all around you, which COD 3 gets good marks for all those categories. But when compared to even the release before this with Call of Duty 2 or even COD 1, Call of Duty 3 does not have the same amount of grand scale of its predecessors. Almost all of the levels in the campaign feel like you're going through a packed-in corridor, whereas in the entries before this you were taking part in D-Day and playing your part in the massive operation that was Operation Overlord. And the scale of the levels in those past entries showcase this. Possibly the only logical reason I could think for the scale of the battles being so different is that this game had to release on 2 generations of platforms. I could be wrong though, but I hope I'm right because honestly the scaling difference is a massive downgrade from the other games. If you have played the other entries, you probably know what I'm talking about. Scaling aside though, the shooting and controls of the game feel tight and responsive as you would hope for a Call of Duty game, so no surprise there. But one thing that was featured in Call of Duty 3 that, to my knowledge, hasn't been added in any release since, or at least in this capacity, is the super cool addition of QuickTime events. Nothing says constant action like being forced to hit a button prompt. Seriously, they have QTEs for things that did not need QTEs at all, like in this weird crowbar sequence that just feels unfinished. The QTEs are at least pretty easy on Xbox 360, but I've heard that there is actual motion control for the sequences on the Wii and PlayStation 3. In fact, I may have been pretty young on this game's release, but I distinctly remember motion controls on launch Wii and PlayStation 3 third-party games being fucking awful. So, bottom line, if you want to play this game, get the 360 version. But even with the scale and weird-ass QTE events hampering this game, it is still a nice shooter experience through familiar territory. The game looks and sounds fine for its time, I think, although the ragdoll physics are pretty funny to watch. Guns like the shotgun are fun to use, and that goes for all of the period-correct weapons on offer. I particularly enjoy how on some of the weapons, you can clearly see the serial number on them. I don't know if that's actually where they're supposed to be, but it is a nice touch. Possibly the only real historically accurate thing they have in the game is that a couple of times throughout the campaign there is a little overview movie featuring photographs and an explanation of the battle that you're going to take part in. So the same thing like they had in COD 2. So the campaign is pretty straightforward, so let's move on to multiplayer, which I'm sure there is a Discord somewhere that sets up events, but when I was playing there were about 8 people online, which is honestly pretty good for a game released 20 years ago. We got the flag. There is no create a class feature as that was first featured in Call of Duty 4, so instead you pick from a set of classes, each with their own weapon and skill set. Medics revive downed players, some are able to lay mines, and snipers can call in an artillery strike. So, stuff like that.
Coordinates confirmed. Firing!
They also have a weird rank up system per match. Simply get enough kills and you'll rank up, usually giving you access to more grenades. Only really viable for the riflemen as their grenade launcher is honestly overpowered. Noob tubes being a pain in the ass. Who knew? Regrettably, I did not play too much as there weren't too many people playing, but I could see how much fun this multiplayer was or could be with a full lobby. So hopefully one day I'll get to experience that, as the Xbox 360 version was the only version to get map packs. So it would be cool to play on an ancient multiplayer map that hasn't been touched in a decade or two. Overall, Call of Duty 3 is a fun time if you keep your expectations low. If you come into this expecting Call of Duty 4 or even World at War levels of polish, you will be disappointed. But if you are wanting another tromp through World War II, I think you'll find COD 3 as a good experience and a decent addition to your collection, as the game goes for about 10 to 20 bucks online, and it is backwards compatible with modern Xbox systems, so you don't even need a 360 to experience it. So if the new CODs ain't doing it for you, or if you can't buy a PS4 or 5 for Black Ops, go back a couple generations and play a stepping stone to COD 4 with Call of Duty 3. Until next time, dudes, peace.